Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back. If you're new to Dragon Child, my name is Angelina, and I am your spiritual navigator for healing your inner child, honoring your ego, listening to your body so that you can come home to yourself. Last week, we drew a heart chakra card from my Dragon Child Oracle deck, and the card that came up was honoring our grief, and we're going to continue with our journey through grief. And today is going to be the grief that we don't recognize, and it can hurt just as much as the visible grief. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, before I go any further, I want to seal this container, call in our guides to hold the container for us, and for protection and healing. I call in the dragons to go before us, forging the way, making this path easier. I call in angels by our side to hold this space and to hold our hands. I call in the ancestors to our backs with their ancient wisdom. I call in Gaia beneath us for grounding, and I call in Source above for unity. I ask all guides for this collective to join us for this session for healing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, grief that isn't always recognized as grief, that can be things like loss of a dream or an identity that you thought you would have by now. Loss of who you used to be before trauma, illness, or any major change in your life. This could also include miscarriages or infertility, loss of a pet, loss of safety or innocence. Divorce can come up as something of an invisible loss, something that we don't think of as grief, as well as breakups, a job loss, a loss of community, deteriorating health, the parents that you never had, or the childhood that you never got to have. And it can hurt. It can hurt more than those the losses that are visible, where there is a ritual for them, a ceremony, that's something that gives you closure. With invisible grief, we don't necessarily get that closure. Society doesn't recognize much of this as grief, but it is grief. Grief that gets minimized, and that grief that gets minimized can sound or begin like at least you're still here. At least you have your health. It could be things like, well, it could have been worse. And oh, you'll find somebody else. Those are all minimizing the grief that is present. And we need to honor our grief, not just minimize it or cover it up, but allow ourselves to fully feel anything that we have been grieving for. Grief isn't just about death. We can grieve people who are still alive too. Examples: estrangement from your family members, a parent's loss to addiction or mental illness or to dementia. Relationships where the person changed completely, or maybe you changed and they stayed the same. Unmet parents, and what I mean by unmet parents is they may have been physically present, but they may not have been emotionally available for you. And this can be a type of grief as well. This invisible grief is complicated because it's something like, as I said, isn't necessarily accepted as grief by society, but that doesn't mean that it's not grief. And you have every right to grieve, no matter what it is that you're grieving. And you may be still grieving somebody that's still alive, a relationship that ended, people that you're estranged from, like I said. So here is an analogy that we're going to use for this lesson. and it's a phantom limb. When a person loses a physical limb or an appendage, they often can still feel it. Their brain registers an itch or a heaviness. Uh, Even though the limb is gone, the neural pathway still remains there, and it reaches out. It's reaching out into empty space, but it can still feel like it's there because your brain, that pathway is still there. So your heart chakra has energetic pathways built for connections, and it stretches out towards a dream, a past version of yourself, maybe a toxic relationship of some sort, relationship that ended. These pathways don't just disappear because that person is no longer in our life or that dream is no longer available to us. Those pathways are still there, and the heart is still reaching for them, just like your brain would reach for a phantom limb. Society doesn't see a physical casket for these type of losses, so they expect your heart to behave normally. But your heart chakra is still reaching into that empty space, looking for that connection that's no longer there. And that can feel tight and heavy. You may have physical aches in your chest. There's an energetic phantom pain of an invisible loss. And it's real. It's not just in your head. It's your heart's pathway still reaching out. The cure, the healing is in part what we're going to do today, and that's just recognizing that grief is actually there. You can't scratch that phantom limb and pretend that it's still there. You also can't heal it by ignoring it. You heal it by acknowledging it, by acknowledging that brain signal, by acknowledging that heart signal, by recognizing that what's actually happening. By naming your unrecognized grief, you are finally acknowledging the heart's invisible wounds. And recognition in itself is enough to begin healing. Grief can live in many places in the body. Unprocessed grief doesn't just disappear. It is stored in the body. The body stores it until that you are ready to work with it, to work through it, and not just hold on to it. And some common places that grief settle in is the chest, the heart, lungs. There could be a heaviness, a tightness, a physical heartache. Could be hard to breathe. There could be shallow breathing. Throat's another common place. The unexpressed tears and unexpressed thoughts, the unexpressed words that didn't get to be said. Shoulders and upper back also carry a lot of weight. Stomach grief can come in as nausea or loss of appetite or even overeating. And there could be chronic fatigue and exhaustion of just trying to support your suppressing emotions constantly. Grief can manifest physically when it's not processed, and this can show up, and it's not limited to, but it can show up most commonly as numbness or emotional flatness, emotional detachment, depression, autoimmune issues, chronic pain, digestive problems. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget, or what the mind even tries to minimize. So recognizing your unrecognized grief. There's some questions that you can ask yourself to see if this is you. What losses have I never given myself permission to mourn? If you have any answers there whatsoever, then you have some unrecognized grief. Along with, who am I still grieving, even though they may still be alive? Where does my heart still reach for something that is gone? These 3 questions can help you recognize if you have unrecognized grief that hasn't been processed yet as grief. So today's practice is just really simple. It is just recognizing your grief. I want you to journal. And your journal prompt is, a loss I never allowed myself to grieve is. And there's a second prompt to go with this. Where does my heart still reach for something that's gone? Now place your hand on that body part. It might be your chest, it might be your shoulder, it might be your head, or your stomach. Wherever that you feel that loss at, place your hand there and acknowledge it. And just simply say something along the lines of, this grief is real. My heart's pathway is reaching. I honor this. There's no need to fix it right now. Or even process fully today. Today, just acknowledging it is enough. And then next week we will do some more work with grief, as far as there's a meditation that I want to lead you guys through that will help you release this unrecognized grief, or grief in general, any type of grief. So this week's affirmation for you to carry in your pocket: my phantom pain is real. I honor my heart's invisible wounds. All my losses matter. Let's say that again. My phantom pain is real. I honor my heart's invisible wounds. All my losses matter. Grief is so much bigger than what we've been taught. And even invisible losses deserve to be recognized. Next week we're going to work on releasing this grief that many of us have been holding on to for a very long time. And especially if it's unrecognized grief, you may not even recognize it as grief. You may have just thought of it as depression or something that you should just be over by now. Comment in the comments what loss you've finally given yourself permission to lose. And be sure to like this video. It helps it be seen by more people. You have no idea how much that helps. If you're not already subscribed, please join Dragon Child Group by subscribing. And until next time, I love you.